Hi, good evening, folks, and welcome to this week's episode of the Minority Report. I'm Ireland David, your host, as usual, joining you on this blessed Tuesday. And we are back here Tuesday, the 18th of February. Wow, time is in fact flying. We're back here to continue or to pick up where we left off, actually last week. And I must say, before even getting into our greetings and so on, is that the management of the Tobago Updates Network continues to provide us with quality upgrades and so on. I'm certain you would have heard the new intro music for the Minority Report, giving it a very, very stately sound. And I want to say thanks to the management of Tobago Updates for continuing to support the work of the minority in various manners and helping us to improve what we deliver to you, the viewers, consistently. So this evening, if you are with us, I want to apologize for our late start, but we're going to get right into it. You can view the program on the Tobago Updates website. You can view us on the Tobago Updates YouTube channel. The Tobago Updates Facebook page is the one that, or the platform that most people log on to, because it gives you the opportunity to actually engage with us and interact with us, send messages, give your point of view, and even make recommendations on certain matters that we may be discussing. So I would urge you, if you are logging on to the Facebook page, to keep your comments respectful, keep them short, keep them relevant. Let's all learn to respect each other's views and points of view. There are a lot of children as well that pay attention to or watch the program from the standpoint of being there in the household as families turn the TV on or the devices on. So let's also remember that as we speak, as we comment, that we want to be able to set the right example for the children who are in fact viewing. If you are an AMPLIA subscriber, you just turn your television to channel 102. That's channel 102, and you can view the program live. That is if you are an AMPLIA subscriber. However, if you are a Flow subscriber, yes, Flow right here in Tobago, you can turn your channels to 121 Hub TV. That is 121 HUB TV, Hub TV, or channel 130 AVS. Channel 130 AVS. And you can, in fact, view the program live on any one of those platforms. I want to encourage you so that as we view the program, as we log in, as we tune in, let's call up our friends, let's call up our relatives or co-workers or neighbors and tell them the Minority Report is on. Let us log in, because this is the only program in Tobago that keeps you up to date with the facts, that keeps you relevant with what is taking place in Tobago, and on more than one occasion provides you with information revealed that many persons may not have found it in their best interest to make public. But one of the things that we hold fast here is that aspect of transparency and accountability with respect to good governance. And so here we are, we continue to do the work and the mandate that has been given to the minority in holding this administration accountable, but even more so being accountable to you, the people of Tobago, for what is taking place in governance. We are going to take a short break. As we go to that break, we're going to just run a short video presentation. And when we come back, we're going to get right into this evening's program. A lot in store, a lot of conversation, a lot of facts, a lot of documents to be shared, again, to continue bringing clarity to us all about things that are happening in Tobago. So after the video presentation, we're going to go right in with my guest in studio. We'll be right back. Stay logged on, stay locked on. Don't turn your eyes off the screen and call around. Let's encourage others to log in. that is indeed a lot. We just viewed, folks, a very short presentation, in no way in its entirety everything, but just a sneak preview, a snippet of some of the things that this central government, PNM-led central government, has been able to provide for the people of Trinidad and Tobago, many of which redound to also the benefit of us right here in Tobago. And we're going to be taking the opportunity to take a look at some of those things in the coming weeks as well. Let me introduce my guest in studio, a fixture, I should say, not a guest, in studio with me this week. Really ready to go and to address a number of the prevailing issues. Welcome, Assemblyman Kelvin Morris, Minority Leader. How are you today?
I'm quite good. Good evening, Mr. David. Let me say good evening to all our viewers, all our loyal supporters, both here in Tobago, Trinidad, and all across the world. It's always a pleasure.
Yes, and I know we have a lot to discuss tonight, but we just saw a very short presentation, and I wanted to just touch two things in the presentation. We've seen such significant transformation in Trinidad and Tobago in two specific areas, especially road transportation, road network, and transportation on a whole in terms of the addition of the ferries to Tobago, and youth development, the Ministry of Youth Development and so on, headed by the Honorable Mr. Cummins. Just off the top of your head, you know, how you feel about what you've been seeing, the kind of progress. I mean, it's like accelerated progress for the last couple of years.
Well, the work the central government have been doing is quite extraordinary, especially given the fact that we are operating in an environment where the country would have been experiencing contracting revenues. So in an environment where your revenues, you're coming mainly from the oil and gas sector, would have decreased based on just natural output and even the global market as well. And yet the government has been able, one, to maintain the public sector employment. No one has lost jobs because the government cannot sustain that. And at the same time, we have seen significant development all across the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. And you could think about the Point 14 highway, which was a scandal under the UNC. Could not finish, given to a company, OAS. The company went bankrupt, basically abandoned the project, and it was left to this PNM central government to come in and basically change the format, because whereas they would have given it to an overseas, a contractor outside of Trinidad and Tobago, the PNM would have come in and adopted a policy where that contract was basically phased and broken up in a way that would have allowed many contractors from Trinidad and Tobago to participate in that arrangement, and therefore it helped to that trickle down and that circulating of economic activity throughout the country. Of course, we know, I just saw just recently, and I think your list captured it as well, where I think it's Namalco is doing a project that's Sandri Grandi to Miaro.
No, not Miaro,
Matlot. Yeah, that highway, and they're using advanced technology in terms of that construction. And when you look across when you look at the kind of work the government is doing when it comes to road infrastructure, it's quite significant. Of course, we know there'll be some secondary roads where people may feel that it needs some attention, and that too is being attended. We know as well during the COVID, the road resurfacing program would have been sort of suppressed as to allow to ensure that we can save lives, and that is where the resources of the country was focused at that time. But coming out of COVID, we have had significant road works being happening all across Trinidad and Tobago. And when we look at Tobago, we talk about the ferries. We know the government is currently in the process of at an advanced stage of putting out. I'm not too sure if it went out as yet, but the RFP for a cargo specific ferry. So this is the government's further commitment to the people of Tobago to ensure that we have reliable inter-island transport, not just for people, but also for cargo. And that is commendable. And when you look at what the central government's investment in Tobago, when you talk about public utilities, Minister Gonzalez has done excellent work in the Tobago space. I remember we came from a crisis situation in about 2015 when, in the height of the dry season, you have to be basically importing water from Trinidad to maintain our hotels in the western side of Tobago, to now where we are able, through the installation of the pipe installation from Signal Hill all the way, the southwestern installation there, that has now allowed us to have the kind of capacity and the kind of supply to that area of Tobago. And then we just recently launched that water treatment plant up at Goldsboro, which will provide additional water supply for all of the eastern side of Tobago, come all the way down to my electoral district, Pump Mill and Darrell Spring, etc. So we look forward to those investments, and we can go on and on. And of course, I personally, as a Tobagonian, cannot wait to witness the opening of that ANR International Terminal. And you know, it's real. When you see, and there's so many, you know what, they rarely say sometimes hindsight is, you know, is also important, because there are a number of persons perhaps didn't understand the vision.
Exactly. And
leadership really requires you taking sometimes tough decisions. And it may not always be popular, but once you have a clear vision and you are able to implement and act on that vision, then people eventually get to see and experience it and buy in. We had that with Mr. Manning and the waterfront. You remember? So many people, Mr. Manning basically lost an election because of that vision of developing Trinidad and Tobago, taking us out and taking us into the 21st century. And in terms of high-rise building, and people were criticizing that and saying, why are you spending so much money? And people hungry, you know, the usual politicking. And but therefore, those investments have withstood the test of time, and now we all enjoy going to, whether it be the Hyatt, just going to the waterfront for a stroll. We are all beneficiaries of the government plaza, because there are so many government services you can access in one place, very convenient. And so that airport was part of a vision to really take Tobago's tourism to the next level, where you were having a pillar of access, where you are now able to leverage that international airport to airlines, private jets, and the whole civil aviation system. And to marry that, you had the Sandals project investment, which would have ensured that we would have been able to have the kind of traffic coming through to the island.
Attract quality stock.
Attracting quality airlines and the people, because Sandals by itself, they have a natural following, they have their natural networks that can really help to bolster any island's tourism. We have seen it in St. Vincent, and we have seen it in Grenada, and therefore it goes without question as to what that vision was. And then, of course, we also had the marina coming on stream as well, which would have taken care of the marine side of tourism, those persons who like to come down and have long stays, the yachties, etc. And even create a whole industry for not just the yachties who are coming to spend time, but even in terms of ship repair and that kind of thing would have been so the vision was clear.
Everything.
It was clear, and it is something I'm hopeful that when the PNM returns to power both in Trinidad And in Tobago, those are plans that we can complete so that we can really bring Tobago up to par with the rest of the Caribbean, because as we speak, Tobago is lagging woefully behind. Correct. Because we have an administration in government in Tobago at this time that has absolutely no clue how to treat with Tobago's tourism needs. I was astounded yesterday when I saw a secretary who have so failed the people of Tobago and failed the tourism industry, celebrating that she was finally placed on some board. How does that benefit the people of Tobago? How does that benefit the hoteliers who are complaining that they are down to 10% occupancy, etc.? How does that help the craftsman who is depending on you to bring cruise ships here so that they can have people coming off the ship and actually patronizing their business? What is the benefit except that it allows her to have the opportunity to enjoy more trips, enjoy more per diem at the taxpayer's expense? And correct. So it is almost abominable, objectionable, and repugnant when you look at how these people are running Tobago, and especially the tourism sector that the PNM would have put on a pathway of growth. There was a clear roadmap to growth from 2017 all the way to 2019. The trajectory was continuously upwards. And this secretary and this clueless administration has taken us 20 years backwards.
Wow. That is indeed, and Minority Leader, you highlighted something when you got into your presentation with respect to what the partnership would have done with the highway, the Point Fortin highway. And that model seems to be the same model we've seen this administration adopt, where they continue to give external parties. There is no real focus on developing Tobago contractors, Tobago business people. And it seems as if, and from even more recent, we're seeing in the news constantly, Tobago is never put first.
Well, it is clear, and I think it was confirmed yesterday in a subtle way by the leader of the UNC, that Tobago is really, at this time, being managed from the UNC headquarters in Central. And therefore, that is why all the major contracts, and is without fear of contradiction, every contract that has been given over a certain value of substance has either gone to South or Central. And this TPP is simply the UNC echo in Tobago.
Correct.
That is what it is. And therefore, as we started the last time, and I was demonstrating with factual evidence, as we were reminded by the pastor that they will do all within their power. So they will work assiduously to assist a regime change in Port of Spain. And you have the political leader of the UNC confirming that there is a possibility of a coalition between the TPP and the UNC. So what we have seen over the last 4 years, ladies and gentlemen, Tobagonians all, what we have witnessed. So when we were asking the questions, where did these contractors just pop up from?
Correct.
How did these contracts just found their way in the hands of persons who perhaps were not even bona fide contractors in road paving? We have a contractor, all they would have paved is one road, one cement track. A roofing contractor who benefited from $54 million, and up to now that road cannot start. And we in Tobago are to accept that this is something proper, this is something above board. And when we ask the question, the ducks aren't lining up.
They're ducking.
And this is why this matter is a matter that we will not rest until the truth is being told. And tonight, I am also very concerned, and it is my hope that the procurement regulator will not allow the OPR law that provides them with significant legislative authority and investigative authority to go to waste, because we have provided them with enough information
correct,
for them to go in, because they have the power, they have the authority, once triggered by a whistleblower, to go in and collect the documents and investigate whether a contract was above board or not. Because we have a situation, and I want to raise this tonight, that road down at Shervan,
the roundabout,
the Shervan to Tobago connector road, where in the dead of the night, thanks to the media, we learned that a resident who occupied lands there, whether legal or illegal, would have just woke up to bulldozers. No warning, no prior notice, but bulldozers in front of their premises, clearing road. And that is how we found out that a contract was awarded over $65 million for that Shervan road. And from then to now, that road has been mired in bacchanal, legal impediment, shoddy work, and the host of nefarious things. And therefore, again, if you look at how that road was awarded, we didn't even know. Nobody knew until the question was answered that that road was given to a company called Namalco. Tobagonians, did you know that? Did you know that road was given to a company called Namalco? And when we asked the question, what was the process? Up to this day,
no response.
Not the Secretary of Infrastructure, not the Chief Secretary can tell us what was the process to award that road along with the Mount Mary Road to Namalco. And we have sent that information to OPR, and to date, OPR has not done what they ought to be doing, which is to go in and get the documents as to ascertain whether there was any process to award that road in the first place. And even after it was awarded to Namalco, I have in my possession, when we asked what was the process to award this road to the new contractor, California Stucco, and we were told this involves 6 contractors. I hope you can share it with the viewers, but there was a letter from the only Tobago contractor to every member of the assembly indicating that that information that was sent, where their name was included as a bidder, was in fact not true. And you know this is an administration that suffers from liabilities. That is a contagious disease within the TPP. They lie and they lie and they lie and they lie. And in a response that require you to be truthful, here they had a contractor who did not participate. And I want to read what the contractor said. I want to read some of what the contractor said that should have everyone in Tobago alarmed as to how this administration been treating with the very serious issue of procurement. This contractor wrote to every assembly member, including the chief secretary, and the contractor is saying, took issue with inaccuracies in the response to question number 39A. So in other words, he is saying the secretary who took an oath to be truthful, sworn oath to be truthful, is in fact being untruthful. And he
Serious.
found this so egregious to write to every member to correct the inaccuracies. And one of the inaccuracies he pointed out, and he said, the second inaccuracy is to give the impression that the tender documents were obtained in a timely manner or were sincerely given. And I want to beg on you to understand what he's saying. So, what this remember, that was around the time we were talking about Tobago contractors being sidelined and blacklisted. Every other named contractor in the response carried addresses from Trinidad. But to window dress the process, what they were attempting to do is to show that, well, there was a Tobago contractor invited and included. Only to realize what the contractor is saying, they really didn't sincerely want me to be involved. Because if they really wanted me to be involved, then they would have given me more time. So hear what he says. The company received one tender request 3 days before it was due to be completed and submitted. So imagine a complex tender where you are to submit design, build, finance, and he makes a point here, I'll read it, and where finance is about 45% of the points allocation, which means you need to have proper research done, etc., and even preparation of documents. They were given only 3 days. And in fact, they were given 1 day notice to attend a site visit. So imagine one out of the 3 days is to attend a site visit, and the next 2 days you have to prepare a package. And anybody who is involved in the construction sector and in the preparation of tenders will tell you that is merely impossible. So clearly, it was just to save face. And it was a farce. And it was a charade. So here the contractor is saying, the company received email from the procurement manager at the IQUD at 12:08 p.m. on 4th October 2022, which said email had 4 attachments. The said attachment appeared to be a letter from the IQUD to prospective tenderer of 4th October 2022, entitled Request for Proposal, the IQUD, and it labels the project. The company was being asked to submit a proposal for the design of construction of a 2.5 kilometer dual. I want you all to remember this. So they were being asked to submit a tender for a dual carriageway. This is important, people. 2 roundabouts and a drainage system by 7th October. So imagine this very complex work. You're talking about dual carriageway, 2 roundabouts and a drainage system. So even understanding the topography of the land is important. Yet you are giving these contractors, because it said the tender document, so it means that everybody should have had this at the same time, which is the 4th of October. All right? And the deadline to submit is the 7th of October.
3 days.
And you needed to submit within these 3 days, prepare drawings, so you have to have your drawings, calculations, schedules, timelines, bills of quantities, financial proposals, and specifications as part of the contractor's proposal to guide the construction contract. This contractor is saying it simply was not feasible, as they must have known. The financial proposal alone, which accounted for 45 points out of the 100 points awarded criteria, would have taken considerably longer than 3 days. So the company contended that the company was unable to schedule a site visit in the very limited notice of the same that was given to it. Therefore, as a matter of fact, no site visit was attended by the company. Further, The company was given woefully insufficient time to submit a tender. Therefore, as a matter of fact, no bids were submitted by the company on or before closing date for this project. Furthermore, the company did not participate in any tender for the named projects. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Lie.
The Secretary of Infrastructure, on a written question to the House, told a big fat lie. And therefore, at the next opportunity, I will be taking this secretary to the Privileges Committee for lying to the House by indicating that this company participated as one of the companies in this arrangement. So first, and you know, they say where there's smoke, there is fire. And the fact that the secretary would mislead the House in this way, simply to create the narrative that you had all these contractors participating, was indeed misleading. And the other issues are, because I want to take my time with this road project. I really want us to understand the various issues in this road project. The other issue that is clear is that this tender that the companies were invited for was a dual carriageway. You would note that the eventual award was for a single carriageway.
Yeah.
So the question we all must ask is whether, one, this process was continued, this process occurred, this procurement process for the dual carriageway. Who won the tender for that dual carriageway?
Correct.
And then whether there was an alternative tender for a single carriageway, because as far as we know, the only process that is documented which the secretary answered for was a tender for a dual carriageway. And this is one of the questions I am challenging the OPR publicly, because a complaint can be made public. It can be made on your portal as a whistleblower. And I, as minority leader, I am calling on the OPR to go in and determine what was the process to award that contract to California Stucco, because all we know as the public that is on the official record is that there was a public tender for a dual carriageway. Lo and behold, we saw works being taken on by a company for a single carriageway, and no one has yet answered the question, what was the procurement process for this single carriageway? Was it a separate process from the dual carriageway process? And if it was not a separate process, can you simply just take the winner from the dual carriageway and transpose it to a whole new arrangement? Can you copy and paste? Was that the process? We want to know. We don't know. We want to know. We also, there's also the issue, and I raised this matter when we brought this road motion, the issue of we highlighted several issues, but among the issues, after we raised the issue of Namalco, etc., is one, why was the Shervan to Storbay Connector Road project initiated without the necessary approvals? Because, you know, the first, after they got the hurdle with the Hearns, taking them to court, that was the first issue, as you would recall. And that happened because you did not go through the process, which is if there's any encumbrance on the land and you believe that they are unauthorized to be there, there's a process where you give them notice, and that notice has to go through its period. And once that notice terminates without them moving, then you would have the requisite authority to go in and remove them. That was not done. And then you had the whole issue of EMA. And I told them that from the get-go. I asked them, because here you are doing a design bill arrangement, yet you had not applied to EMA for any clearance, and the law is clear. Once you are doing any new road development exceeding 1 kilometer, you need Environmental Management Authority clearance. But apparently they believe they are above the law, and therefore the laws of Trinidad and Tobago does not apply to them.
Exactly.
So that they breached the EMA Act. And what was interesting in that arrangement is that they did not at the time have any designs. So how did you, if one of the requirements of the
design build procurement process
is to include a design, how did you award a contract without a design? If that was one of the documents that ought to be included, as was told by us, by one of the contractors that you invited that did not participate, that one of the requirements, it was for drawings. Yet you did not have the drawings to provide to EMA only until you were called to account. And we know they had that injunction. That injunction went on for some time.
Yeah.
Eventually the injunction was lifted. But then you had another very interesting occurrence.
Yeah.
The private land acquisition issues. Why did the administration proceed with the project without securing the required private land agreements? That's like putting the cart before the horse. So you are going to develop a road, and if you had design, and that is to show, that is proof that they had no design, because if you had designs, you would, and you have your cadastral sheet, you would know what lands the THA owns, and what lands are privately what owned. Lands need to be acquired, and so forth and so forth, and you go through there's a process for compulsory land acquisition. But no, you were basically building the road as you go, and it is only when you encroach on the private lands and the owners proffered objection, that is when you recognize you have a hurdle. And from then to now, this matter has caused this road to basically be in abeyance. So right now, it is the road to nowhere, because where the road should have been taking us is passing through private property, and therefore that investment of over $100 million since 2022 has not fully benefited Tobagonians, because you really can't access the road. And this was a road that we were told was an emergency road that was absolutely necessary. And on top of that, this road was going to be financed, this very dual carriageway that they initially sent out for tender was a road that was going to be financed and implemented by NITCO on behalf of the Tobago House of Assembly for the people of Tobago, using funding from the central government.
Free of charge.
So it meant it would not have cost the THA a red cent. And for the THA to say that we want to do the road on our own, there have always been collaboration between the central government and the THA to construct major public infrastructure in Tobago. That is no the hospital. How you think the hospital in Roxborough was built? It was the THA collaborating with the Ministry of Health through UDICOT being the project managers that delivered that first-class hospital to the people of Tobago. So if you were going to get a first-class road, dual carriageway, delivered to you at no cost, allowing you to have more funding to undertake your development, why wouldn't you accept that? Why would you choose to forego that? Spend over $100 million, and 2 years later, no road has been delivered.
Nobody benefiting.
No one has benefited. But it gets even worse. It gets even worse with this road. Point number 3. As we talk about the tender process and the procurement, And I asked before, was there a separate tender process for the dual carriageway project, which involved RFP submissions from, well, it was 5 contractors because they said 6, but one of the contractors said, I never participated.
He never was a part.
And if so, why was a separate procurement not carried out for the single carriageway project? So that is the question. We want to know whether there were 2 RFPs done. Did you cancel the dual carriageway and then did a separate RFP for a single carriageway? Was that done? How transparent was the tendering process, given that the same contractor who was able to tell the person down in the manager for projects down at DIQUD, I hear only have a contract that Namelco give up in Montgomery.
Correct.
And I come for it. That same contract was contractor, California Stucco, was able to also go down to Shervan Road and also benefit from that contract.
So somebody
as well.
benefiting.
So clearly that
benefiting.
Contractor is very lucky.
Yeah.
Very lucky
Well
contractor.
informed.
And very favored. Contractual terms and payment issues. And this is where I think I have some videos lined up, because again, I want to, one of the things Tobagonians you have to, and I think it is important in leadership, is to trust your leaders and trust their words. Be able to trust them, be able to believe them, and be able to take what they say and know that they would follow through on any undertaking. And in this matter of these roads, I am sure you would recall when the Chief Secretary first announced these roads, he made a commitment to Tobagonians that this was an alternative financing modality that they were undertaking. And the way how this design, build, finance arrangement would work is that they would be engaging contractors who have the ability to do the work, have it completed, wait 9 months for an initial payment, and further 9 months so for their final payment. So he said you would get your first tranche, your first 50%, 9 months after the work is completed, and then you will get the final payment in 18 months' time, or an additional 9 months from whence you got your first payment. So it really meant that no payment will be made. We got that undertaken from the Chief Secretary until works were completed.
Correct.
Tobagonians. If I tell you tonight that that very Chief Secretary who made that commitment on the day he announced the roads, and in the Tobago House of Assembly legislature, in responding to a question and in making pronouncements on these roads, if I tell you that that same guy, Mr. Liabilities, not liability, he's a liability too, but Mr. Liabilities, Chief Liabilities, Chief Liabilities, if I tell you that Chief Liabilities turned around, and this administration has since paid this same contractor over $32 million for this same incomplete road, Tobagonians, will you believe me? I want that to sink in a bit. After having given Tobagonians the commitment that absolutely not 1 red cent will be paid before any project is completed, this same Chief Liabilities and his administration, they have turned around and paid this contractor, by my information, over $32 million. And I'm challenging the Chief Secretary to come and debunk whether they have paid
Correct.
any funds, any monies to this contractor for that incomplete project.
So we, as usual, we like Tobago to hear
Correct.
verbatim. So I'll ask the director to run that first clip of the Chief Secretary's response in the House.
Design officer, these contracts are design, build, finance contract modality, which means that it is designed for the contractor to complete 100% of the works before any payment is made, one. And two, payments are usually commensurate with the period after the defects liability has ended. And if you will observe from what I pointed out, the one project for which the defects liability period ended in July 2023, two payments were made totaling 11.24 million. Two of the other projects have not been completed, so zero payment is required at this time. And the fourth project is within the defects liability period.
So we heard it from the as they say, the horse's mouth as to what are what's the criteria in terms of these design, build, finance projects being rolled out. Lo and behold, we had the political leader of the Tobago Council of the People's National Movement provide some information right in this network, in this studio, on a morning interview. I want us to go right into that. Mr. Director, run that clip.
$32 million. The contractor that did the Obzoki roundabout was paid $32 million. I am sure the people of Tobago remember quite clearly that the Chief Secretary said the THA will not be paying for these projects until 9 months after completion. The contractors will get half their money, and then 18 months after completion, the contractor will get the balance, which is the other half. How is it that they are prepared to find from scarce resources $32 million to pay this contractor when the project is not yet completed?
And that is the question. And you heard it for yourself, viewers. Based on the information coming to us, and the political leader, Senator Dennis, spoke about that since last week. If the information was incorrect, don't you think they would have come and debunked that already? So clearly we have to accept as fact that payments were made. And our information is it's about $32 million. So think about it. They made at least 50% of the original contracted amount, which was about 65 million. So they, even for an incomplete project where you gave a commitment to all of Tobago that under this arrangement, no payment will be made until the project is completed and the defects liability of 9 months is expended. Yet, here you are, paying this contractor $32 million of monies we hearing every time this new secretary who seemed to be infected with liabilities as well speak. She never have money. And it's always the central government not allowing her to have money. But you found $32 million to pay a contractor for works not fully done.
Which minority leader? You have a contract in place with terms.
Correct. You have, so they broke their own
contract terms.
The THA itself will breach its own terms of contract as to facilitate a contractor. Tobagonians, I really want
think about it.
I really understand what we're saying here. You, the THA, you are properly supported by contract with specific payment terms that allow you to defer payment until such time that the contract, the project is satisfactorily completed and you have the 9 months grace period to sort out and make sure the project was properly done and then pay. And you would turn around and break that arrangement to facilitate payment to this contractor. And the question we have to ask is why?
Why? What's the
But
haste?
I am not surprised. I am not surprised. Because when you have the pastor saying to all of Tobago that we will work assiduously, meaning we'll even break our own terms of contract and break our promises to Tobagonians to assist their friends in Trinidad with a regime change, and the political leader of their friends in Trinidad confirming that we will consider an alliance with our assistance in Tobago, then you should not be surprised that there's a rush to pay their favorite contractor, who I've been telling them is in fact a very good friend of theirs.
Yes.
They don't like when I tell them the contractor is a very good friend of the administration, the TPP. But clearly somebody favors this contractor to the point that somebody would have also ensured that even against the terms, this contractor receives some favorable kind of payment. And I want Tobagonians to think about this. Why would this administration break its own terms to facilitate this contractor? What is so special about this contractor? What is so special about this contract? And what is so special about this arrangement? That above all the people who have to be paid, you have security firms can't pay their workers because they're not being paid. You have so many different service providers. You have after up and down making noise for their money because they worked with the oil spill and they can't be paid. You have the fishing fraternity, stakeholders, all the fisher folk people, the fishers who ply their trade, asking for financial assistance because their industry was decimated by the oil spill. And they can't even get their $2 million.
Empathy.
They can't even get their $2 million
towards them,
so that they can get a little change in their hand to rebound and rebuild themselves.
Foreign students.
You have foreign students, the secretary admitting that they have monies outstanding for the foreign students. You have people can't even get basic medical medication in the hospital. You have single parents going to health for a food card and for rental assistance and can't get that. But you found $32 million to pay a man for a road that nobody in Tobago could drive on because the road is incomplete. And a roundabout that look like a shanty town. Because it's all kind of thing around the wrong. It is a shameless arrangement. They didn't even have the temerity to at least pave the roundabout, line it up properly.
Nothing.
And we are paying $32 million for that incomplete job.
So that bad work had to continue.
So we are rewarding poor work, bad work. And then our secretaries talking about who are poor work ethic and poor work ethic. But it starts with the leadership. I've always told them the fish don't rotten from the tail is from the head. So if you have poor work ethic at the top, it will trickle down. And if the workers, if you all are not leading by example, then what you expect from the rest? If you are rewarding a man and a contractor who has not completed his work as agreed, and you are paying him $32 million, what is left for the rest of us? When there are people depending on this administration, many THA workers are not being paid on time. CPEP people telling me they're not receiving pay on time. URP people are owed back pay since they raised the salary, and up to now they have not received their back pay.
That's another charade.
but you found $32 million of Tobagonian scarce money to give to a contractor that will not spend 1 red cent in Tobago? And you want to call yourself Tobago People Party and want Tobago people votes?
Why?
Tobago people, let me fix them.
That is it. Minority Leader, they campaigned on the premise of putting Tobago first.
But Tobago is being put last.
Last, every single time.
Because of all the contractors and all the suppliers. We know our Tobago business people are small businesses that depend on cash flow. And if you keep a small Tobago business waiting for money for more than a month, it's pressure. We know that. Your caterers afraid to even supply food to divisions now because they prefer to go and sell their food every Friday rather than give their service to the THA because they just cannot wait 3 and 4 and 5 months for payment. And yet you have all that happening, but you could find $32 million to pay a contractor who does not even deserve it by way of the contract. The contract doesn't allow him to claim for it.
Yeah.
Yet you break your own contract.
You breach your own contract.
So you prefer to break the contract with Tobagonians that you gave the commitment. So you see Tobagonians, you just can't trust them. You can't take their word.
Information coming to hand is that school feeding program not even being...
So that's another important one, and you always say in the secretary, so you can't say that the suppliers not doing their part because she's always bigging them up.
Yes.
So the suppliers are...
School feeding not getting paid either.
So school feeding can't get paid. So the people, the small Tobagonian business people feeling pain while your friend gone away with $32 million that the contract does not allow them to claim. That is the important thing, you know? Because if a man work and he earn his money and he...
No problem. He entitled to it.
But in this situation, the contract does not allow for the payment. Yet you vary the terms. Because you would now have to vary the contract.
Correct.
You vary the terms of the contract to facilitate this person while all other Tobagonians hungry. So our Tobago people hungry can't get their money that they work hard for, that they provided services for. They have to be waiting months and months and months when they should be paid. Normally when you provide an invoice, the invoice as a small contractor would say, terms of payment within 2 weeks, 14 days or so you are breaching their terms but not paying them. So you are going beyond the 1 month, going beyond 2 months, going beyond 3 months. You have people waiting over a year for payment in Tobago. So Tobagonians, when you see they saying they can't pay you because they do have more money, that again is a big fat lie. This administration suffers from chronic liabilities.
Wicked administration. And
they're getting a liabilities rush because it's getting worse and worse by the day.
And there is, when you listen, and especially this Secretary of Finance, when you listen to the way that she addresses the issues, there's no empathy. It's like they don't even care that people suffering.
And somebody made a very good point. Because now that they have been paid without completing the job, this contractor could just pick up and pack up and go away.
Yeah.
And leave our road incomplete. And it's who to catch? Is the average Tobagonian to catch?
What is funny is that this chief secretary accused Tobago contractors of the very thing that he's supporting here without evidence.
Correct.
And look, he have all the proof that the work is incomplete. He knows it's incomplete. And he gives the permission to vary the payment, the terms.
Correct.
But he accused Tobago contractors.
So everything he has come in the house and accused with his half-baked audit. Half-baked audit that wasn't even completed. A preliminary audit. You come in raving as per usual.
As usual, waving documents.
Always waving documents. Hot air. accusing, maligning
Deceptive.
Tobago contractors. And here it is, a contractor that has not yet completed a project, one that you told us the terms of the contract.
Yes, he said it.
That one of the terms is that you must complete the project, and you have to then wait 9 months to get your first payment. You have varied that, broken that arrangement, and we are seeing where the contractor is now being paid over $32 million, even more than the works that has already been done.
Yeah. The question is why?
And the
Where's the
question
rush?
to Tobagonians, when you hear they say they have no money, you must challenge them.
Yes.
When they say they can't pay after, and when they say they don't have no money, and the officials who
students
waiting for some support, and students, just ask them simply, and media people, you must ask them as well. Challenge them. Why did you vary the terms of the contract when you gave a commitment to the people that no payment will be made until the contract is the project is finished and 9 months after?
Exactly.
Why?
And how is this arrangement benefiting Tobago? Because that was one of the things he said, that this new arrangement, Tobago wouldn't be in no position.
And this is not the only road where we have seen them vary the terms. And on top of that, what is even more inflammatory and obnoxious and even questionable and concerning is the fact that when we asked them about the inflated rates and they couldn't properly justify why the rates are inflated, they then try to say, well, it's basically interest for the deferred payments. You remember that, Tobagonians?
Yes.
You remember what they told you when they couldn't justify properly, because we said, look, you said $1,400 per ton for hot mix
corrupted,
was inflated and corrupt. But look, we have the bill of quantities here for your contractors, and look on the bill of quantities that we have here, you are paying $2,700 a ton to supply, place, and install asphalt mix and bitumen on the roadway. How is that? What is the reason why you're paying more? And they fudge, and they dodge. And eventually when they realize people were putting pressure on them, I recall one day as a sort of justification, which still didn't make sense. The chief secretary attempted to say, well, really is just like if you take a loan and it's really interest. So that they would have sort of included the interest in the price. Because remember, they have to wait a long time for their money. You remember that? But now, now the chickens have come home to roost. Because we are now seeing that again was a big fat lie. Look how much for the whole night. We've been here now for about an hour and a half going. And we have been able to cite 4 big fat lies.
Out in the public.
And this chief liabilities secretary is definitely demonstrating that he's a man not to trust. And here again, we have to ask them, so now that you have paid them beforehand, is it that we are now going to get a reduction in the price? Because if the issue was that was built-in interest because they had to wait, but you have breached that contract, you have breached that arrangement, you have varied the arrangement. So are we going to get back monies from these contractors now? And it's right or wrong, absolute failure, total lies. And this administration, this TPP administration, is an administration of lies, deceit, deception, and you just cannot take their word. You cannot trust them, and you will be absolutely out of your mind if in broad daylight you're seeing them lying to your face without any kind of shame to go and give them even more responsibility. and even more power. You have two very important elections coming up.
Yes.
And my advice to you, Tobagonians, you have finally got to see them for who they are. They would have come to you as newbies, as in fact some of them came as saints. They dressed up nice, they looked nice, they looked innocent, and therefore you decided to give them a chance. But in giving them that chance, they have absolutely spurned that opportunity.
Yeah.
They have taken advantage of you. They have disregarded you. When your interest was to be placed first, they have placed your interest last. They have left you under pain, suffering. They have left you can't have basic amenities. Look, the island, when you drive along Tobago, on the verges of the roadway, it is bushy, it is absolutely unattractive. They promised to fix Scarborough. They said they would have transformed Scarborough. Scarborough is as bad as it has ever been.
Worse.
It is worse than it has ever been under this administration. They said they would have fixed this and they would have fixed that. And all they have done is fix themselves. So Tobagonians, we would have an opportunity very soon to fix them. And when we get that opportunity, we must use this finger and fix them.
Let we fix them.
Let we fix them, since they did not fix us.
Folks, more to come, but next week, Tuesday, we are definitely out of time. However, I know that many of you are in fact locked onto this information. We would continue to roll it out. And I just want to encourage you to take this information very seriously. Have the conversation, share the information, share the facts. And to media persons, when you come into contact face to face with this Chief Secretary, with this Secretary of Finance, challenge them, ask the questions, and let them provide Tobago with the right answers. Not to blame central government for anything, because we continue to see central government cooperation with everything that the THA has to do concerning developing Tobago. So folks, it was a pleasure spending this time with you. We trust that you would continue to be effective agents of the information provided, and we do look forward to seeing you guys next week, Tuesday. I'll ask the director just to take us out with that particular presentation once more.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the commentators, guests, and the host. They do not explicitly or necessarily reflect nor represent the policy or views held by Tobago Updates or this network. Tobago Updates or this network cannot be held accountable for all or any views expressed during this program.